Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the modern market, where every day we discuss all things to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to make some or a lot of money on the internet. Hopefully, load up discussion today. We have Bitcoin pushing 5% higher to $91,000. Silver is also at or near its all-time highs. We'll be talking Tether revealed as the world's largest accumulator of gold in the last 2 quarters. And South Korea's largest exchange, Upbit, hacked for 37 million. Upbit will be compensating damages from their reserve assets. We'll get into all of that and more, and what is going on in the rest of the market as usual. So stay tuned for that. I've got Legendary in the co-host seat with me today. We're ready to get into it, but just a reminder, friends, before we do, nothing that we say here is financial advice. This market is incredibly risky. We do not know anything for sure, so please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, it is Thursday. It is the 27th of November. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
GM, doing quite well. While the intro music was playing, I was trying to see what's going on with Kinetiq, the token on HyperEVM, which just TGE'd. It's already trading natively on Hyperliquid spot versus USDH. I'm sharing this on screen to get a look at it. What is the market cap? 140 mil. It's actually going up, trading at 14 cents. Ton of volume in there already. $800,000 in volume in the first 5 minutes or so. This is the listing. This is the token. I don't know if we need to claim the airdrop or if it's just going to come to our wallet. So what we need to do, because it didn't have the time to figure it out as we were starting the show, but at least it's trading at a nice market cap.
Legendary, this is sometimes, I think you're losing your edge. You're losing your edge on these things. There was once upon a time you would know, you'd be faster than me. You know, there'd be never an opportunity for me to be faster than you. You used to be the fastest button
Don't tell me
clicker
you
around.
already claimed, sold, or have found the token.
Yes, I've done all of those things
No.
for one of my wallets.
No.
You can't even believe it. It's so uncommon. But there's
Yeah.
been a couple of occasions now where I'm on the ball, Legendary, as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I learned it from you many years ago now. But so basically, if you are unsure of what is going on, what appears to have happened, you know, there's no specific skill in this. It's just kind of luck. So if you just open your Hyperliquid account and you're looking for the Kinetiq airdrop, I actually have 2 wallets, and what I usually do is I sell half of anything, and then I'm going to assess after. So 2 of my wallets were fairly highly placed. It appears that the Kinetiq airdrop is just straight into Hypercore. So there's no claim necessary. There's no buttons you need to press. It's just straight there. You can sell to USDH straight away, which maybe you don't actually want to do because it looks like it is moving up. So it looks like the market cap is 160-ish million. As Legendary said, it's paired with USDH at the moment. It came out again like 100, so it's 50% higher already, and that's what we know so far. Ledge, how does that sit with you?
Yeah, sits well with me. I was just connected to the wrong wallet. Now found it. What was the poly market on that? I want to get. Do you remember that we talked about this on the show? There was a poly market for the Kinetiq airdrop.
Yeah, have a look. It's I think it's okay. the end of day price, isn't it?
Kinetiq FTV above insert number 1 day after launch, 1 million in volume, and there was a time where this. Let's get the 2 billion chart and the graph for that out. Let's get the 1 billion graph. Let's get the 1 billion graph. There was a time, start of October, 70% of the market was thinking this thing is certainly going to trade above $1 billion. And now we seem to be quite happy that it's trading at 150 mil. Let's get the 500 mil as well to see that.
I'm just looking at how much it is. Like, if you were one of the top holders here, or if you were very high up, if this does go to, if this did come out of it, I mean, I guess you can say you can technically say that for anything, right? Like, oh my god, if this came out at $1 billion, if this came out at $2 billion, oh my god, it would have been so much. But you know, you can say that for anything. In the real world, it's come out at 150, and it's still pretty healthy though. For the people who maybe were quite high up, I think I had 2 wallets that were pretty high up in this one because I decided to. How did you earn your Kinetiq points, Legendary? What was your method of choice? I think me and you went for the same option.
I had a bit of K-Hype staked. That was just maybe 5% or whatever. And then the biggest thing for me was Project X liquidity pool, K-Hype, and regular hype.
Okay. K-Hype and... Oh, so you were doing K-Hype against Hype?
Yeah, very conservatively, because this was my hype position. I didn't want to DCA in or out of that back at the time.
Got it. I don't. Yeah, and I don't know if they were ever fully transparent as to how to get the most. I think they could try, teams generally try to avoid all of that conversation. It's much easier without it. And I was actually LPing Hype against Bitcoin for a long time, and I did it in pretty high numbers as well at the time. So that's how I got so high up, I think, on 2 wallets in general. But so that's the first. It's always a nice little bit of energy you said at the top of this week, Legendary, before we get into the main stuff today and get into the roundup and everything. A bit of energy this week. First, I had a bit of energy because the market was going down, and that's what I predicted for a long time. Then I stayed short too long and lost the money, and I decided to close my shorts, just go flat, as now everything has moved up. I still have a sense that things are still going to go lower, but I just decided I don't need to play the short game right now when the market's very much like trying to make up its mind. So I decided to take that off, gave up some of the short gains over the last month or so. And but then there was the Monad TGE, the Mega ETH pre-deposit, the Kinetiq TGE. How's your energy levels, and what are you thinking about these things? I put out a post this morning showing some of my thoughts, but curious for yours.
Yeah, there's another TGE from the gaming side of things also coming out today, or did come out early in the morning. Didn't have a chance to look at that. Is one of the investments that I did, but don't have too high expectations when it comes to that. Apart from that, I'm surprised by the market being up that much, I would say, because I still think that we will see some sort of correction. But apart from that, energy is pretty good. I feel like it takes a couple days or a week or so to settle in with a new price level, and then like CT and everyone else is returning to normal, in the sense that now ETH is 3K, and that feels okay. Last week ETH was 3K or 2.7 or 2.6 or 2.8. It didn't feel good, but now it's, the mind has adjusted, the brain has adjusted to say that 1 ETH is 3K, and that is again the unit of measuring things in the real world for me, as I'm considering whether I want to fly out to Dubai or not. Looking at flights, I'm like, okay, flight return flight is around 1 ETH. So like the brain is doing the math in ETH again, and the world's fine.
I remember you did that to me once, and then obviously it makes everything sound cheaper, and I regret ever thinking in that way. Like, I just think it's not a. Although if you ever tempted to make an additional purchase, just convert it to ETH. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, I can spend that, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got some maybe additional thoughts, but let's get into that as we get into the market thoughts after the roundup. Let's get everyone up to speed first with what they need to do. Just a quick message again for the people who are tuning in, people who've been following us for a long time. We said Kinetiq would be a good protocol to follow, get exposure to. And if you are just joining us, your tokens, which are given to you, will be have gone straight to your Hypercore account. You don't need to claim anything. They've gone straight into Hypercore, and you can trade it there. You can buy, sell with USDH. It's paired against USDH at the moment. So you can do that if you wish. Right, let's get into the main stuff today. To get you up to speed with what is going on as usual, we're going to start with the majors as always, starting with Bitcoin, which, as I said, is up almost 5% to 91.3K. We've got ETH up around 5% to just over 3K as well. Got XRP up 1% to $2.20. Sol is up 4% to $141. Cardano is up 4% to 43 cents. And we have Hyperliquid up 4% to almost $35, not quite 35. On the meme coin side of things, we've got Doge up a couple of percent to 15 cents. We've got Pepe up 4%, Pumps up 4% as well, almost getting back to 3 bill FDV. We've got Trump up 1%, Pengu's up 2%, SPX up 14%. Again, SPX actually up 30% on the week. So Murad's coin being slightly more volatile here compared to the others. That's probably the outperformer, along with Fartcoin is back up 11% to 320 mil FDV plus 10%. I don't know when these coins will go away, but they definitely want to stick around at least for a little bit longer. It appears that way. Also, Rect, our favorite, one of our favorite tokens and teams. Rect is up 7%, up 44% on the week. So remember, buying those huge liquidation dips is just on a structural basis seems to be a good thing to try to do. Getting into the headlines themselves, today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin pushing higher, silver nearing all-time highs. Where do we think the market's going to go next? That will be an important conversation. We've also got Tether revealed as the world's largest accumulator of gold in the last 2 quarters as S&P Global downgrades Tether assets. So a couple of things going on there. Really interesting news about how much gold Tether's been accumulating. People thought it was central banks, and yes, they were doing it too, but Tether accumulating even more than them. So we'll try to put that in context in today's show as well. And finally, South Korea's largest exchange, Upbit, hacked for 37 million. Upbit will compensate damages to users from their reserve assets. So notable other price action, Monad's actually down 13% today, back down to 3.9 bill. Iris is up 102% to 550 mil FDV, and Wojak is up 28% to 50 mil. Just indicating a little bit more appetite for risk across the board here. I know Monad is down 13, but it appears, they've gone on a pretty huge run just before that. So maybe just correcting. Some notable sales, CryptoPunk sold for 34.1 ETH, this quite nice one on the board in front of us. And going to the rest of the NFTs, Good Vibes Club up 12%. That's interesting to see. Nothing else really to write home about. Mochaverse up 9%. That's probably about it there. Getting into the roundup itself, Grayscale has applied for Zcash ETF. Bitwise Doge ETF is live for trading now. Avail launches Nexus Mainnet, which is a cross-chain execution layer. Ethereum founder Vitalik donated 128 ETH to privacy messaging apps, Sessions and Simple. Privacy as a concept definitely not going away anytime soon. I don't think people are still very much interested in that. Kalshi deal. This is the news we mentioned anecdotally on the show yesterday. Kalshi deal with federal judgment in Las Vegas, allowing state gaming regulators to take enforcement action against sports betting business. So a federal judge in Las Vegas saying that, you can start to look at these businesses, the prediction market sports betting side of it. Hyperliquid decides to give the Mon ticker to Monad after Pixelmon had paid for the ticker via auction many months ago. That's caused a little bit of consternation on the timeline. Not the best way to deal with businesses who paid you a lot of money, I don't think. DWF announces a $75 million DeFi fund for builders across ETH, BNB, Sol, and Base. And finally, our partners at Yeet are running a raffle for, this is a pretty cool one, running a raffle for $1,000 per week for 35 weeks, entered with every leaderboard point from now until they hit $1 billion wagered volume. So that's coming up. I think they've done 900 million or so now. $1 billion is coming up. Until that point in time, every leaderboard point that you earn will count as one raffle ticket to earn $1,000 per week going straight into your Yeet accounts. Probably one of the more lucrative potential raffles, but I guess there's going to be a lot of points getting put up on that board in the meantime as well. So that's the roundup to get you up to speed with everything that is going on in the space. Final bit on top, I guess, which we wasn't actually included, but we spoke about on top of the show. Kinetiq has the liquid staking protocol on top of Hyperliquid. The main liquid staking protocol has just TGE'd, is trading at $160 million FDV at the moment on Hypercore. You can trade that now. It's trading against the USDH ticker. The tokens have been dropped directly to your wallet in Hypercore, so you don't have to click, and definitely don't need to get involved with any clicking or trying to claim tokens anywhere. So with that out of the way, Ledge, that's the roundup. Want to come to you before we get into the main stuff. Anything catching your attention otherwise? And Funky, I see you with your hand up as well. We'll come to you right after. Legendary.
The Hyperliquid story. So what happened there is that you could buy token tickers, and this is what Pixelmon did. They did bid 500K for that, got the ticker, got listed as Mon. I think Zeneca had a quote repost on that explained the whole thing. Let me find it while I'm speaking. And what then happened, there we go. So what is happening now is basically that Pixelmon is now shown as Mon Pro on the UI. It's still the Mon ticker on chain, and Monad is showing as Mon on the UI, but it's actually UMon on chain. And as we said, Pixelmon did pay the 500K for that. So now the discussion is, okay, what is the worth of buying the ticker? Theoretically, they still have the Mon ticker on chain, but what's the value of that if everyone who's searching for Mon on Hyperliquid is finding the Monad ticker? Now, the counter side to that would be, obviously, people searching for Mon want to trade Monad, and nobody wants to trade the Pixelmon ticker. So it would be dangerous that you have people searching for Mon, and they think they're buying Monad, but for some weird reason, they would buy the Pixelmon ticker. The question then really it becomes, maybe the ticker selling business is not the one you should be running, but I completely understand why Hyperliquid has been or has done that in this specific case. I don't think that you buy an unlimited license with that token to be displayed on the front end forever. I do think they could refund the 500K maybe, but I also have never seen the contract. I have never seen how the exact ticker purchases work like, but I completely understand why Hyperliquid is not routing people looking for a Monad to the Pixelmon ticker, because this would be an utter fiasco for them if people would lose money buying the wrong ticker.
Yeah, I think there's a really, really easy solution for this. And you kind of alluded to it. I think I agree with you ultimately that, look, this is a capitalist, this is a hyper-capitalist economy, and Monad is the ticker that they are searching for if you want to trade at the moment. I haven't seen the numbers for what Pixelmon was trading. I would guess it was very, very low. And in a competitive environment like this, you need to get that ticker for Monad, in my opinion. From a commercial perspective, it doesn't make any sense for Pixelmon to continue with that prime ticker, even if they paid for it. But then the solution is, okay, just give them the money, back.
Exactly, yeah.
Give them the money back. Sorry, we could not continue with it, whether it's all of it, whether it's a proportion of it. I think that, and if you explain them from the commercial perspective, they'll probably understand. And I bet that they actually would understand that they're not in the right position. And sure, there's some idealistic angle, like we bought it first and therefore we believe in decentralized ownership and there shouldn't be this corporate structure that tells us whatever. But it's like, guys, get real. We've got to get real here. This is business. And it doesn't make sense. So we need to, sometimes there has to be recourse where it's like, okay, we did this deal. We now need to change the parameters of it and we're happy to pay you. And it's our platform. So we can decide like, yes, we will do the right thing and give you the money back or a proportion of the money back, but it's our platform. We think it's the best decision and therefore we can own that decision, What do you think?
Exactly. 100% agree with that. I do have a little guessing game for you. So Monad, 24-hour volume on perps, 115 mil, 16 mil on spot. What is the 24-hour volume of Pixelmon? Just so that we understand how.
$500.
It's actually a pretty damn good guess. It's $2,000, $2,166. So perfect.
You weren't going to get me with a higher number there because I've actually looked before on some of the lower, some of the tickets that like have been put there, but just are not trading very much. And yeah, it's basically non-existent for some of these tokens that have not got the attention at the moment. So yeah, it makes sense. This is nothing necessarily bad about Pixelmon, right? Like they're doing their best. They're doing a bunch of interesting stuff. They just got kind of caught up in this specific thing. I think it's just business though. But I do think they should be compensated back. Like they did put themselves forward and want to buy it, and they did that. And so they should be compensated or refunded in some way. That seems like a fair conclusion to the matter. So that would be my thought. I've got some other thoughts on something else that I want to bring up before we get into the main headline today. But Funky, you had your hand raised as well. Would love to bring you in here and hear what you've got to say, man. It feels like it's been a while since we've had you up here. You've been on a nice little trip in Argentina. How are you doing, man? What's on your mind?
Jam guys, happy Thanksgiving. I know you're not Americans per se, but for those who are listening and celebrating today, just want to start with there. But while you guys were talking about all the Kinetiq stuff, I was frantically in the background on my MacBook Pro. You can already move this over to Hyper EVM, just so people are aware. It is trading on Project X. So I'm already in the liquidity pool because I swapped half for mine for just more hype. And then I basically jumped into the liquidity pool. So there's good opportunity there. And I just wanted to share that for everybody who's listening, that it is also trading on Project X, and you can just easily move from Hypercore over to HyperEVM if you want.
Very nice. Very nice update. I appreciate that, Funky. So if you are, if you do want to do that, you can do that right away. And yes, thank you for the reminder. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our American friends stateside. Sometimes we forget the US holidays. Sometimes we realize when they are too late, and then we actually observe them ourselves. And sometimes we find out about them and it's like, oh, okay, well, let's just carry on anyway. But yes, happy Thanksgiving to the people on the stateside. Hope you're having a good day and that there's lots to be thankful for. We are continuing as usual though today. We're thankful for a great deal. Ledge, before we get into actually, I was going to share something, wasn't I? But what was I going to share? Was I going to go back to Kinetiq? I don't know. What was I interested in before we get to the main headlines today? I think I was just going to be talking about the post that I made earlier. Okay, so I put this out earlier, which I think is potentially helpful or interesting about just how I'm seeing things at the moment. We talked a little bit about the Kinetiq airdrop, which has already taken place this morning. And then I was just sharing some thoughts on what I thought is kind of happening in the market at the moment. I generally think, even though I've closed some of my shorts, I generally think the market's a bit exhausted at the moment. Everyone's a bit exhausted. And I still think we're in pick up your check season. I wrote this and spoke about this a few weeks ago, where people have invested their time and capital all cycle, and they're waiting for these things to come to fruition now. So whether that's Monad, you pick up your check after, I don't know, being a KOL for a whole cycle. I know that doesn't sound very tiring, but I'm sure some people think that was very tiresome or burdensome. Maybe you've made a large capital allocation to Kinetiq. You're providing liquidity in various ways over time, watching your points go up. And so, people have allocated their time and capital to things over a long duration of time. And it's time to start seeing some of that yield back. And I think that's what people are kind of waiting for. I put Monad, Kinetiq, and Mega in these examples. And I guess the reason why they need that yield more than ever, I think, is that the risk taking on chain has really decreased. You can see that in the lending rates of USDC. When people want to take a lot of risk, and there's a lot of risk to take, lending on USDC, whether it's on Solana, Base, ETH, whatever, can push as high as 8, 9, 10%. Sometimes on Hyperliquid, it's even higher all the time. Whereas now it's way lower, way lower on Aave across the board, maybe 4 or 5% or so. It's just showing that there's not a lot of people wanting to take risk at the moment. People just kind of just taking some time out, I think. I think the headline batch of ICOs, Mega ETH and Monad, have done well and will do well because they're underlying it is something interesting, good team, well-funded. But I think we're going to see a lot of people trying to copy that now, and they will not work out so well. So I think you've got to be judicious, as always, in the ICOs that you choose to invest in, as a lot of people will see this model thinking that this is going to work. In terms of risk reward, I don't have much appetite to pick a direction here after trying to hold my short even longer. My instinct is still that we will go lower eventually, but I don't feel like it's a battle I need to fight right now after being broadly correct before that when we were going down. So I'm kind of out of that fight at the moment. I've just generally noticed timeframes getting a lot smaller, like people celebrating Bitcoin from 88 to 91. Or 82 to 95 or something like this. And it makes me think that people are more desperate than they should be. And maybe more broadly, just thinking about going for bigger swings in fewer things. So, in the pre-deposit campaign for Mega ETH going quite big. I think in the Infinex crate run, they've released some more details. I want to look at that. Maybe I have an unfair advantage there in the sense that I've been invested. I'm familiar with the ecosystem. But I believe the next run will not necessarily take those things into account. So you might be all equal for the run that starts from December the 1st. So worth having a look there. Those are just two things I'm thinking of maybe allocating some more time and attention to. But beyond that, getting more comfortable with watching opportunities go by. No need to swing at each ball, but when you do swing, try to hit it out the park, I think is kind of my thinking. Ledge, curious for your thoughts here, as a reaction to some of these more general thoughts that I chose to write down this morning, but let's go through those before we get into the main headlines today. What are you thinking?
Yeah, the main part that I fully agree with is still think we are in pick up your check season. The first thought that you had expressed, feel very similar about this. Think I've been taking profits throughout the year. I still think it's a good time to take profits. It's always a good time to take profits, but especially now because I also don't know where the market is going, which direction it is going. The one thing that I keep going back and forth in my mind on is the stock market, equities versus crypto. Like on the one hand, we've been saying that stock market offers insane opportunities if you want to pick a directional bet on something like Alphabet, Google, which has been up 90% the last 6 months or so, or other things you might be interested in the AI sector or in the AI domain, because Google added essentially Bitcoin's market cap in 6 months. On the other hand, you are trading against way more unsophisticated counterparties in crypto. I still do think that it is way easier on a short-term time frame to make money in crypto than it is in stocks. But the answer for me is to continue what I have been doing and what I have been especially been doing the last 2 and 3 years, which is to just rotate profits out of crypto into equities. And I do think that DCAing into stuff is absolutely the way to go. Clemente had a post out. Let me get it up on screen as well, which spoke to that. Where is it? He basically was saying, if I can't find it, there it is. Had a conversation with a friend who passively put money into crypto 4 years ago, put 6K into ETH, down 1K, put 4K into BTC, up $750. If he had put that money into the S&P, he'd be up $5,000. This is why normie hate crypto. Completely disagree with that take, because if you buy the top in stocks as well, you will be down on that too. I mean, I know that stocks have been in a, or S&P 500 has been in a going up forever season for more than a decade. But there's obviously been financial crisis in the past, and you could have top blasted and be down on that. So the answer in both cases is to just dollar cost average, buy into that in regular increments, and don't care about the current price, don't care about timing the market. And this is what I have been doing on the stock side for years when it comes to buying the index, buying, in my case, the MSCI All Country World. But I've also started now to shift more profits from crypto, not now, over the last 2 years, as I said, into like single stocks that I was picking. And I quite like that. And I quite like to continue that, because going back to what you have been saying, B, that the risk return feels a bit shaky in crypto specifically, right? I don't know where we're going with BTC in the next months, in the next 3 to 6 months, which is the time frame that we've been typically looking at. But I am very, very bullish when it comes to some of the stocks that I have been buying on a multi-year time frame. So I do feel comfortable to continue that rotation. And then just in terms of the other things that you have been picking out, mega ETH pre-deposits, taking fewer swings, largely agree with that. The only thing I would add is that there's like very nice short-term opportunities in crypto to trade. The one that I traded was buying this rect double dip on the liquidations, which has been rewarded hugely. Other people have been making the point to buy Monad once it dipped below the ICO price, which you could have done with any size, not any size, but with significant size, and be up on that as well. That's something I didn't do because I didn't have interest or had the conviction in that trade. But the point being is you have quite a few trades coming along throughout the month where you can be in and out 24, 48 hours and just take some nice profits. That's the only thing I would add to your thoughts.
Yes. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I think I agree with that very broadly. The stock stuff, yeah, I agree with. I think you have to. I think the main thing I'm thinking about when it comes to stocks and other things is a lot of us came into this space, and maybe some people are still in this space, in completely over levered crypto. and then you make a few wins, you continue, you like roll it forward, roll it forward, roll it forward, roll it on. It's like you take this win, you put it into the next one, you take this win, you put it into the next one. And then you don't realize how much of your net worth or your growth portfolio is tethered to this specific industry. And obviously that's good in good times. But I do think there's a point at which you've got to like start trying to diversify. And maybe it depends on your age, your time frame, your what you want to achieve in life. As you might not like me saying it, Legendary, but like as we have now been in the industry, I mean, you've been in much longer than me. I've been in 4 or 5 years. I'm starting to get to a point where like I actually need, as I'm getting older, then, you know, maybe I got to have some different exposure. Whereas if you're much younger and you still believe in the industry as much as you did before, you might still want to have a higher proportion. And then as you get older, you kind of taper it off potentially. I think that's at least part of the way to plan. Do you have a comeback on that, Ledge, before we get into the headlines?
Not a comeback, but a question. If you look at your portfolio and you include your crypto exposure, don't include stablecoins into your crypto exposure. So basically just risk on crypto, excluding stablecoins, and then stuff outside of crypto, real estate, stocks, gold, whatever it is. How much of your total portfolio in percent is right now in risk on crypto? So crypto minus stablecoins, basically.
Minus stablecoins? How do we minus the stablecoins out? So pretend like
if you have a total net worth of say 2 mil and you have 1 mil in crypto, but 800K of that is stablecoins, and you only have 200K in risk on stuff, then your crypto exposure would be 10%, 200K out of the 2 mil. This is how I try to.
Okay, I understand. What do I think I would be now? I actually don't know. I actually really don't know. I've been selling endlessly over the summer and into the current period as well, as I've been thinking about that more. So I would need to check. I don't even think it was as high as, maybe it was like 30% before. And maybe that number's gone lower, potentially. That's my instinctive thought. What about you?
Let me do some quick math. Probably like 25% is in risk on crypto out of my total portfolio. As right now, I'm 70%-ish in stables, and still the overwhelming majority of my net worth still sits in crypto. It's on chain, not in smart contracts. Funky was making the point, what if you're deploying stables in smart contracts? Like I'm literally talking about not deployed stables. They certainly make up the biggest part of my portfolio right now.
Okay. Interesting conversation. Interesting to think about. Yeah, something to keep an eye on. But you can tell what mode we've been in for a little bit of time, right? Which is capital preservation as we kind of went through the summer and the mania and the high prices. So always better to de-risk at the higher prices. Obviously now we're in a bit of a limbo as the market trying to decide which way it wants to go next. So it's not as straightforward, but let's get into the main headlines to get you up to speed with what you need to know today. And before we get into that, because we're going to talk the headlines in a second, just want to shout out Beezie. Today's show is sponsored by Beezie, the on-chain claw machine innovating how collectors chase their next grail. Beezie lets you pull everything from PSA-graded Charizards to Labubu figures, Travis Scott Jordans, and sealed products, all securely vaulted with Brinks, tokenized on-chain and shipped worldwide. Whether you're after rare Pokemon slabs or battling your way up the leaderboard to farm and airdrop through pulls, swaps, and trades, Beezie makes collecting on-chain fun. We're also giving away $500 to pull rare Pokemon slabs towards the end of the show today. We did that last week and had some good cards pulled with those winnings. And we're going to be doing it again today. You can participate in that by signing up with our ref link, which Legendary will put in the comments. And you want to be participating in that giveaway. You can't participate in today's, obviously, because it's taking into account the activity over the last 7 days, but you will be eligible for next week when we do this again. So Legendary will be giving away that prize towards the end of the show today. Before we get there, we will get to today's headline. So Legendary, first headline today is Bitcoin surging back over 90K, silver approaching all-time high. Tell us the numbers, the data points, the interesting things that you're looking at the moment, so we can figure out what's going on. What are you thinking?
Yeah, let's take a look, starting because you mentioned silver. Let's start there. Silver is trading at $53.4. It is up 0.6% on the day. It is up 10% over the last 30 days, which is outperforming gold. Gold is quote unquote only up 5% over the last month. And silver at $53.44 means it's roughly $2 off its all-time high, which it hit in October at 55 point something. So that is on the gold side of things. Moving on to the equity side of things, it's quite interesting. The Nasdaq is up another 0.6% or so the last 24 hours. But if you look at the sentiment on CNN, still in extreme fear, still at 18 out of 100. Pre-markets yet again are in the green, but the market is still in extreme fear. If we take a look at some of the individual stocks, which we have been talking about on the show for the last couple weeks or months, Nvidia had a bit of a rebound, was down yesterday, is up 1.4%. Microsoft is continuing to move upwards, up another 1.8%. On the other hand of that, Google and Meta are, I won't say they have corrected. They are down 1% and 0.4%. And Tesla is also continuing to move up another 1.7%. What I also want to check in with is the Fed decision bet. It seems like we have found, let me just refresh that to make sure we have the current numbers. Yes, we do. Seems like we have found some sort of consensus. 25 bips rate cut in December is what the overwhelming majority of the market is thinking. Price is at an 83% chance. And I think the interesting thing here is that basically since the week started, this has been flat at 80 to 83%, which means we didn't have any surprises. We didn't have any like announcements or speeches that could have been interpreted in a way that means no rate cut. And the market really took 3-4 days to get used to that, to feel confident, okay, rate cut is coming, and then to also see the relief rally carrying over, especially carrying over into crypto, where, as you said, BTC is up 5-ish% on the day, trading at 91K. And talking about a Bitcoin, also wanted to check in with that poly market, which asks the question, what price will Bitcoin hit in 2025? Currently with $68 million in volume. And the interesting thing that I want to pick out is obviously the question, will we go over 100K or not? And 53% of the market do think we're going to go over 100K. That is up 17%. So it is a bit of a majority, but it's not the overwhelming majority. And that kind of ties back to exactly your thoughts, be that you shared your feeling that you don't really know the risk return ratio, you don't know where the market is going. And the larger market, the poly market, agrees with you because it's basically a coin flip if we're going to go above 100 or not. This is the sentiment for Bitcoin at the moment.
Interesting. Okay, good roundup, getting up to speed with, I guess, the various majors here. Did you have a specific feeling, Ledge? Like you mentioned the rate cuts. One of the ideas that I'm having at the moment is that it has become a little bit of a, after forgetting about rate cuts for a bit, we're kind of doing the coin flip for rate cuts again, in the sense that if we get rate cuts, I think the market just moves higher a little bit. And then if we don't get rate cuts, then we sell off. But I'm also wondering if the Nvidia earnings was a set of instructive price action, in the sense that you had something really good that maybe the market was expecting a bit, you move up much higher, and then you give it back straight away. And that would be something I'm very cautious of for Bitcoin. And I think maybe a lot of this stuff is moving up now in anticipation of that, would be one of my instincts. But then let's see how it performs after, I think. And again, my instinct is still for like us to chop a little bit longer and maybe to go lower. And who knows, I can be wrong. I've been wrong very briefly now, as we kind of have already moved a little bit higher. So let's see. That's just my instinct out loud. But what are you thinking?
I think the rate cut is not priced in because it is at 80%. So agreeing with you that if we see a rate cut, we'll move a bit higher. If the poly market were at 95, 97%, then the market would have priced it in, but that is not the case. So I do think we could see a rally towards the end of the year if the rate cut is coming. Leading up to the rate cut, I still think that given that both the crypto and the stock market are trading in the extreme fear range, that both are very vulnerable to any sort of news that would be volatility inducing to the downside. I'm also very curious to hear Funky's thoughts on that, who has his hand up, and also in the YouTube comments said your instinct is wrong, B. So Funky, what are your thoughts on what the market's going to do?
I'm literally wearing the chain right now. All right, now let me say something, because I think you guys missed this in the roundup in the news, B. There was a massive change in options contracts for IBIT. I dropped
Was that
it
Funky?
in.
There was a massive chain. Is it a gold chain somewhere?
Yeah, it is a massive chain, but there's a massive change in the IBIT contracts. When IBIT launched, they were allowed to do 25,000 option contracts, and they just did something at the SEC to allow them to do up to 1 million contracts. And so this is a 40x over the current limitations for options contracts, which is of course going to introduce some volatility. And there's also some funny games being played with JPM and MicroStrategy. And I'll find the tweet again because I dropped it in the chat last night. But effectively, this is almost going to guarantee that the banks are going to profit off this. And in 2026, we're going to see probably something we did not expect out of Bitcoin. It is really, really interesting when you read through all the details of what happened and what has been happening behind the scenes. And I see a lot of this stuff because of following a lot of just Bitcoin only people who pay attention to that side of the space exclusively. And I saw this all last night. So this was starting to erupt on the timeline maybe about 24 hours ago, maybe 20 hours ago, because I caught it probably 8 or 10 hours after it had been posted, right before I went to bed. And this, I think, is going to change the game. I think the rate cut's coming. They also talked about the new incoming Fed chair, because that was leaked. Kevin Hassett, I think his name, Hassett or something like that, who's been incredibly dovish, and who also, he used to be at Coinbase, and he basically was part of the crypto council under Trump. So everybody's now saying he's going to be the guy. In fact, if you look at the poly market about this, he shot up in odds for being sort of the guy who's going to take over for Powell. So 26, I think we're going to see finally that the economy running super hot, like what Trump has wanted all of this year. And that's why he's called Powell too late Powell, and all these other things, because he's wanted rates to drop significantly. So we may see as much as in 26, 200 bips, cut from the current rate. So it's actually going to be pretty interesting. I'll find the tweet, but yes, I think that this is something that's worth talking about and how it's going to change the trajectory. This is another reason why I think we're starting to see the price tick up, because they're expecting cuts coming in 26. But then also this news yesterday, right around the time it happened, is when we started getting those God candles on Bitcoin because of whatever they're doing with the options contracts on IBIT. And JPM has a structured product on this that is going to effectively allow them to maximize to the upside for their clients who are holding this product. And there's an interesting interplay about JPM being short on MicroStrategy to try and drive people away from MicroStrategy and into IBIT. So really interesting stuff. I'll find the posts again and share them.
Great call. I'm sharing a post on screen from Jeff Park, who's the CIO at ProCap BTC, who has this filing out of the Federal Register. And just to read that bit on, let's make it like this. It's easier. On position and exercise limits, they are saying in this proposal that position limits and exercise limits are designed to limit the number of option contracts traded on the exchange and underlying security that an investor acting alone in concert with others or indirectly may control, yada, yada, yada. These limits are intended to address potential manipulative schemes and adverse market impacts surrounding the use of options. Position and exercise limits must balance concerns regarding mitigating potential manipulation yada, yada, yada. To achieve this balance, the ISE, that's the International Securities Exchange, proposes to increase the position limits and exercise limits for options on IBIT to 1 million contracts by noting the proposed position limit in yada, 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 yada. So this is exactly the 40x increase that you, Funky, have been referencing. Oxy in the YouTube comments is making the point, this sounds like more leverage in the ecosystem.
One other thing I forgot to mention, there's only like 5 other positions that are allowed this 1 million contracts. It's like NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, Google, and some other big, massive company.
Yeah.
And now, crazy.
The most ETFs, most frequently traded stocks have a position limit of 250,000 contracts. So that would be a 4x to what typically popular stocks and ETFs get.
Interesting. Look, I think that's really, really helpful information, Funky. I think I missed that one. So definitely worth digesting that. Is there any, so what do you think the direct knock-on effect is, Funky? So Oxy saying in the comments, this introduces leverage into the ecosystem. Do you think that's accurate? Why do you think this, just to kind of break it down, creates a more bullish setup for Bitcoin?
The knock-on effect I hope for is that B stands for bullish, not bearish. But beyond that, yes, I think that this is, I have to find and read through the long post about the JPM play because it has something directly to do with this, because somebody had a thread that broke down why they were introducing this to their, because we're talking, you know, JP Morgan, when I keep saying JPM, they want to roll out this product directly to their largest, wealthiest clients. These are not, they're not worried about retail plebs like us, right? Like this is something I think that's going to allow, you know, back in 2017, I know this is before you were here, B, but Legendary will certainly remember this. The thing that probably arguably broke the market was at the very tail end of 2017, they allowed for paper Bitcoin. They allowed for futures trading contracts on Bitcoin, and that's when TradFi probably first took a step into our world and shorted the hell out of Bitcoin. And they didn't have to own any Bitcoin because they had these futures contracts that were now, and you probably remember when you came into our space, there was a long-standing battle between Gary Gensler and everybody else asking for a spot Bitcoin ETF, right? This was a big win for us to finally have this thing launched, because you had to hold the Bitcoin asset rather than just like trade it on paper. I think when you're introducing this kind of leverage, that's effectively what we're doing, is we're getting back into a derivatives game and allowing people to really, you know, move the market, because again, they have way more capital than we do, right? TradFi is just orders of magnitude larger than all of crypto. So I feel like this is something where if the market's going to run hot, debasement's going to happen. They know the narrative. It's easy to pump. I just really think that this is, you know, where people were calling for 200K Bitcoin or whatever. I think that's probably now just off a year. There was, if you ever see Tech Dev, I think is his name, the famous trader who's a non, and he had a great post, and I'll find this and share it in the Modern Market chat, where he's making the call that like, look, this is just a longer business expansion cycle. We haven't really seen true expansion. Like we haven't seen the God candles of old when it came to Bitcoin, where it just rockets up 10+% in a single day. And if we have that level of optionality in those derivatives markets, it is going to move the price. And they could probably theoretically pump it as much as they want. And so this is one of the many reasons last night where I saw this and I'm thinking like, how could you be bearish at this point, knowing that all of these macro indicators are lining up, right? We have QT officially stopping in a few days on December 1st. We're probably going to get a rate cut, at least 25 bips. We have somebody who's basically already being touted as the next Fed chair, who we know is incredibly dovish and is going to want to pump the market and continue to cut rates down to where Trump wants them. We now have these option contracts that are going to allow for greater volatility. And while it may be true that that could go to the downside, when I find this other post explaining what JPM is doing with this particular structured product with this IBIT, effectively they want it to go to the upside. And there's something where in the structured product that they have to close off the tail risk by the end of 2026. like is December 21st, 2026. And then if they don't close it, then it effectively allows the people who hold it like a 1.5x premium to the upside through 2028. But they're basically going to want to close off the risk. So it's kind of alluding to the fact that maybe the end of the, as much as I'm starting to hate the word cycle, is going to be probably another year away. That's kind of the argument that's being made by the person who wrote the thread. And it gets into a lot of the details about the positioning of JPM over a number of months and sort of the FUD storm against MicroStrategy while they were trying to get all this put into place. So it's just really interesting.
Very interesting stuff. Look, I think it's definitely worth considering, worth thinking about. My instinct is I decreasingly like the idea that, this time is wildly different. Everything that has always been true before is now no longer true because this time is different for some reason. It very, very rarely is. And if it is, there's an exceptional reason why. And I guess some of those reasons are, articulated by you there, Funky, or at least that's the argument, right? So definitely worth considering, and thanks for bringing that up. But look, we'll have to come back to that because I think it's interesting stuff. But we've got 2 more bits of news to get into today, which I think is helpful. And we've got to get to our Beezie giveaway to get $500 worth of Pokemon card spins into your hand. So let's rattle through these, Ledge, because we don't have much time left in the show. Just got around 5 minutes. First one I thought was super interesting. First one is the news that Tether has become the largest gold holder. So Tether is one of the world's most profitable cryptocurrency companies. Obviously, it's been running its stable coin business via USDT for a long time now. It makes its money by earning the yield on all of the dollars that you give to it to hold and keep safe. And they just stick it in treasuries and they keep the yield and people are happy to not earn that because they just want to be on chain and go and chase all the other ways to make money on chain. So they have obviously made a ton of money by doing that. And it looks like via this graph, if we scroll a little bit further down, that whilst everyone was saying that China was buying all the gold and different countries are buying all gold in the quarters leading up to Q4 this year, and gold's gone on this incredible run from 3-something thousand or lower up to 4K now. And that also might be true, by the way, because it's one of the things it notes in this Financial Times article in terms of the sources is that, look, you got to take the country's numbers with a pinch of salt because you can't be certain that they are reporting this stuff entirely accurately. So we're going to take that with a pinch of salt. However, Tether is a proper company. It reports all this stuff. And so from the reporting angle, Tether is top. So you can see here Q2, it acquired 24 tons of gold, which put it ahead of Poland at 19, ahead of Kazakhstan at 16, ahead of Azerbaijan at 16, and Turkey at 11. And then in Q3, Ledge, if you just flick the button just above in the article, there's a Q3 button. You can see Tether acquired 26 tons of gold ahead of Kazakhstan at 18, Brazil at 15, Turkey at 7, Iraq at 6, Guatemala at 6, Czechoslovakia at 5, China at 5. So look, as I said, China's got a little star next to it. We've always put the star next to it in the sense that realistically, I think people think that they've been acquiring a lot more. But it's very interesting to see how much this, I don't think, was being predicted at the time or spoken about at the time. Like, one of the reasons why it's increasing so much is because of the exposure that Tether itself is getting to it. Just a final bit of detail, they actually have hold more in gold now than they do in Bitcoin. Which is an interesting note. They've always spoken publicly about how they like both, but it's interesting to know that now they have more gold than they do Bitcoin. And it looks like they're going after kind of gold and gold companies as well. So they've been buying, also diversifying across all kinds of other companies, which we already know about: football clubs, Argentinian food companies, various companies across the market that they think are important. So that's that note, Ledge. Curious for your specific thought here, and maybe before we get into the final headline.
I think you mentioned one of the important caveats with that, which is that the gold reporting for countries is voluntary. They're not required to report the gold purchases. And the reporting landscape changed once the Ukraine war started, where countries like Russia just stopped reporting the gold purchases. I think China stopped as well. So Tether, certainly a very significant gold buyer, but we can't say if they are the biggest or not because the country reporting is a voluntary one. And there's been a show where we discussed this, but nonetheless, I think it's, for me, the key takeaway is to hear that, which I didn't know, that Tether now has more in gold than in BTC.
Yeah, very interesting to note. And all this happening, by the way, at the same time as rating agency S&P Global on Wednesday downgrading Tether's assets, saying that it's giving it's the lowest rating, called weak, warning that Tether's rising exposure to high risk reserve assets could leave its stablecoin under collateralized in a crisis, which I don't think is even possible now, potentially, because they want to be regulated under the Genius Act. They want to comply. They want to have all their money in treasuries. That's how they make all their money. And then with the profits, they go into gold and Bitcoin. It was my understanding. They're not collateralizing USDT with Bitcoin and gold. Like, they're just sticking it in treasuries. That's how they make their money. So I don't know. Paolo, the CEO, came out very strongly, kind of suggesting that, look, your traditional system is screwed, and now you're trying to take it out on us. Like, this is completely unjust. You know, we don't respect these rating agencies anymore. If anything, we're more solid than any of you guys put together. I think it was the gist of what he had to say. But look, that was a strong statement from Tether. Final headline, Ledge, just maybe a quick note on the Upbit hack, and then we want to get to our Beezie giveaway. We are giving away $500 to one of our Beezie users on our reflink today. So let's get into that in a second. Just give us the quick detail here, Legendary, on what happened with Upbit, the biggest South Korean exchange.
Yeah, I'll keep that one short. They did suffer a $37 million hack on Solana assets, did stop deposits and withdrawals. Upbit also said that they are gonna make sure everyone is gonna be made whole for whatever amount of money they lost from their own reserves. Affected tokens include Solana, include Bonk, Jupiter, Modeng, some other memes, as well as USDC. I think one of the interesting things that came out of that is this: as Upbit got hacked and paused withdrawals, the volume on alts picked up as arbitrage bots are no longer running. And we can see that here. I think important context to keep in mind that in Korea, red means up. They don't do green for up and red for down. They do red for up and blue for down.
No way.
Yes, they do. And you can see that some of the stuff has been running anywhere between like 20 to 95% on the day.
That is
so
crazy that they do red for up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit different. I think China does red for up as well. I don't think it's only Korea. Yeah, so it's confusing if you've never seen that and you flip to
Do they
there.
do red for go on traffic lights as well? What's going on?
That I don't think. I think that's pretty international, but that is a difference to point out.
Green is go, guys. Green is go. Green is go for the road. Green is go for the markets. Come on, we've got to standardize this kind of thing. Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
well,
red is the lucky color, meaning fortune, wealth. So kind of makes sense.
That is true. That's also true, to be fair. Okay, those are the headlines for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed. We do want to get to right now our partnership with Beezie. We've got $500 to give away. As usual, we're doing this every Thursday at the moment for people who are active underneath the Modern Market RefLink. Delighted to be able to be working with Beezie as they continue to roll out some cool new product features on the Pokemon side and general collecting side. Ledge, what do we need to know here? And let's get to our giveaway.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, the giveaway is for everyone who has done some volume over the last 7 days on Beezie, pulling from one of the 5 claws. I think they also recently got into basketball. So as you said, they are pushing out new features. And taking a look at the Modern Market leaderboard for the last 7 days, we have Chaos now in the first spot, doing a bit more than 2K in volume. Then Meg, strong again, 1K in volume. Then we have JLo, Francisca, Atari God, and Holo Hoarder. Did apply some weighting based on the volume. And what we have to give away are two $250 claw pools. That is the most expensive claw on Beezie right now, filled with Pokemon slabs. I think one of the most expensive cards actually take a look that you can pull right now. This is the new basketball claw, by the way.
Ooh, that looks cool.
Let's see, what's the grail? This Umbreon, valued at 3.6K, is the most expensive card that you can pull right now. So with that being said, let's go over to the wheel of names, which is quite a full wheel of names this time, and see who's taking away $500 on Thanksgiving in Beezie pulls. Wheel
Thanksgiving
is
giveaway. I'm thankful for our ability to give it
Meg.
away.
Again, 3 times in a row. That is pretty insane. Congrats, Meg.
That is insane. Meg is victorious again. Congratulations, Meg. Meg's going to keep going. I challenge the rest of our listeners, the rest of our participants, to get in the game. Meg is 3 in a row now. It's pretty damn impressive. Congrats, Meg. What do you think the source of this luck is, Legendary? We've got this. I don't think we've ever had anyone with a winning streak like this. This is going to rival your Limbo GCR luck.
This is
Do you think
exactly
Meg's
what I wanted to say. Meg and I need to hop on a call. I need to go on Limbo, and she needs to tell me the numbers I should be betting on.
Well, sometimes there's got to be some kind of secret luck going on here. But look, congrats to Meg as always. And it is literally Meg every single week at the moment. But we have more participants now, so the leaderboard is heating up. We'll have some more participants, I bet, next week. We'll be doing it again next Thursday. Shout out to Beezie for partnering up with us to give out some of these giveaways, so you can try to win those slabs. With that done, we hope you had enjoyed today's show. Legendary, if people want to participate, final point on the giveaways, where can they participate?
Yes, excellent reminder. We have a sign up link. You need to use our affiliate link to be eligible, and I am posting this in the comments of the show right now. It's also in our Telegram, and it's also on Spotify and Apple Music, right under the timestamps of this episode.
Perfect. Do participate if you wish. Thank you to Beezie for partnering with us today. Thank you to Legendary for co-hosting the show with me. Thank you to Funky for his excellent additional contributions, as always. And thanks so much for joining us, guys. We do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Time, live on X Video, YouTube, and you can catch us on Apple and Spotify as well. We hope you have a wonderful day. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.